he tells me the things that make him uncomfortable, I'll always support him. That level of love and respect is so beautiful to live with that you just enjoy being around each other all the time. And sometimes...
So Sharon, first off, let me tell you that I truly appreciate what it is you do. As a business coach, I've seen so many different types of businesses. But strangely, I haven't seen very many that are in the parenting realm. I probably have like 3, including you, on my fingers that I can count. And as a parent myself, my children are 8 and 10 now. Had I known that there was such thing as a parenting coach back then, it would have been incredible. And tell us a little bit about specifically what you do for your business.
So I had my first child at 26, and I thought she was the biggest genius that was ever born on the planet, and very special. And I treated her that way. And at the time, I was lucky. I had my own business, so I didn't want to put her in daycare. I didn't want to put her in her own bed. I wanted her to be with me all the time, and I just wanted to give her everything that put a smile on her face.
Mm.
But because she was very smart, she would soon realize that she was in charge, not me. And hence the name of the book, Who Put the Kids in Charge. It was definitely me who had done that. And when she was 4, I was about to have another baby, and the lady in the local fruit shop said to me, "This child of yours is going to be so jealous, and she's going to really, not like having another baby in the family. What are you planning? What are you going to do about that?" And I said, "Oh, I hadn't thought about that before."
Yeah.
And how do you run a business and treat everybody like they're the most important person on the planet? So you just can't. So she gave me ways of helping Vanessa to feel like she was the other mother, which at the time felt like a good idea and actually worked with Vanessa. "Oh, can you please give the baby the bottle or get the nappies,
Sure.
please," or whatever.
Right.
But unfortunately, as the years went by, she still felt that she was the other mother. And then when my life fell apart with a divorce and the loss of all of my assets and my home and everything else, she couldn't understand why I wouldn't listen to her when she was 13 about what we should do next.
Right. That makes sense.
So the dynamics worked at the time, but didn't work in the long run. And it was all my fault and not hers because I hadn't sort of thought it through.
I think even with my daughter, I never tell her that she is my best friend, but in my head, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just love her so much. And there's like a fine line because of those roles, it's like we have so much fun together and we're super close, but yet at the same time, I have to ensure that she understands that I'm still her mom. At the same time, establishing that sense of like, I'm your mom and you can always trust me and we're always on the same team. And yet like here we're going to take care of this together. But through that process, you're still showing the role that we are not necessarily equals in that. But that I'm your mom and you're my son or my daughter. And yeah, I just keep thinking of the word team.
If possible. So I decided to go and study early childhood. And I worked out, I was watching other families, and it gave me a really clear understanding of, sometimes a mother would come and pick up a child from a daycare center, and she would have the child sort of talking to her while she's trying to get out or talk to the teacher. And rather than just say, "Wait a minute, darling, I'm talking to the teacher," she would say, "Oh, just a minute." And then she talks to the teacher, "Just a minute, I'm talking." And so having done that course and understanding that children need things explained to them, and then once it's been explained just once, not every time, just once, then it's a matter of, then you can say, "Just a minute, please wait until mummy." But in the meantime, while they're being a little bit manic because they've missed you all day, and mothers are saying, "Oh, they've held it together all day, and I love it that they can just release on me." But no, because then you become a victim of the child's moods.
Right.
And you don't want to be a victim in the family. want to be the queen.
Right. So it's such a
So
great idea, like you said, to then be able to walk the child through that moment of these are my expectations, and then they know it. So then the next time it would be just a matter of reminding them with a simple, just a moment, mother's talking or whatever. Yeah,
yes.
that's
Yes,
great.
so you can see how it works, and it works in every
Yeah.
situation, and it's just a lovely way of living. So, yeah, I did the early childhood. I worked in a few daycare centres, and then I got some jobs as a nanny. So I was really involved in sort of raising a lot of children and seeing the dynamics that worked. And it really helped me as well to be clearer on, the things that I wanted to do. But my children, once I smartened up and slowed down and took charge, people would say to me, "Your children are helpful, they're happy. Like, how do you do it?" And
Yeah.
you should write a book. And for years, people said, "You should write a book, you should write a book." So eventually, it was during COVID, I had the time to sit down and write.
Yeah.
And it was really lovely getting all the messages down on paper and really understanding rather than me still doing. I was actually understanding why it worked and how it worked. And then I've been able to share it with other families. So my book off right now.
All
I
right.
really want as many mums as possible to read this book because it's just a lovely, gentle. Sabali, please. Sabali. Sorry, I'm babysitting the dog. It's a lovely, gentle but firm way to be with children. And so one of the big messages in the book is we've got to wake up. We've got to see what's really going on and not be delusional and make excuses. And
Yeah.
then we've got to take charge and we need to be the leader. While we know more than our children, we've had the life experience, we can see the big picture for the whole family, not just for that one person, that we know the right decisions. It's a way of living
Yeah.
that's lovely. And it keeps you and your husband having a relationship. I like to think of the mother as the queen of the house. And
Love
so
that.
she's respected, and she's also able to feel like when she speaks, people want to listen to what she's got to say. So she's
Mm.
not constantly trying to convince people to listen or to help. So I like that, and I like the dads. I like to think of them as the lion of the house, and so he supports the mother.
Mm.
I love that energy as well, that, dads feel like they want to help mothers a lot of the time. But where that leaves the children as well is in their position, which their position is like the cubs of the family or little princesses and princes. But
Mhm.
everybody feels like when they have a position, they know their role to play. That there's also a hierarchy in the siblings, but when
Mm.
nobody's being a bully and everybody, no one's jealous or no one's trying to take over somebody else's role, it's constantly respectful.
Mm. Yes.
And it's the respect that you were talking about when you go to an interview or that you're mixing with other people. You understand how important it is to be kind and respectful to others. And so
Mm.
it goes through your whole life of who you
Right.
are.
I love that when you're saying this, you said the hierarchy. And I think that's so valid for one. Okay, there's a lot of things in here you've already said that I just think is incredible. But as you're just talking, I keep thinking like understanding the relationship. It's just like us when we show up at a job, right? We understand the hierarchy and the relationship that we have with people that we're working with either in our business or corporate world. And that helps us to understand how to interact with them more appropriately. And it does happen inside of our friendships and inside of our church groups or and inside of our family. And so when we have the lion, the dad, he's like the protector of the family, right? Like that's his goal. And the mother who is nurturing. So the dad is like the lion of the house and protects and everything. And the mom is the queen, the one who kind of not necessarily rules the house, but has respect as the nurturer. And so when we understand those relationships, the kids know how to then react or interact with the mom and the dad. And of course, the parents know how to interact better with each other because they understand their roles. I love that so much.
So what
Mhm.
I find as a parenting coach is people will come to me after they've tried everything else and they found that, that it's just not working trying to have your child feel like they have a right to speak above you, to talk you into things, to boss you around. In essence, it probably sounds like it's great because they feel like an equal, but they have their time and place in their lives to feel like an equal. At the
Right.
moment, they need to be guided, and they need to be helped in understanding what it means to be a good person on the planet.
I love it.
And
I really enjoy hearing how you're talking. Um, and a part of me is like, well, what if somebody thinks that, it's too late for their children because they're older, but you actually grew up in a home that didn't feel very safe. And now you're an example of a child who has grown up and has learned love. And I just think it's beautiful. Are you open to sharing a little bit of your backstory, your
yes,
family
certainly.
growing up?
Yes, like a lot of people in the 50s, um, there wasn't a lot of education. People were, coming from war zones,
Mm,
and a lot of people just drank because that's the only thing that made them feel good. And my father had come from Germany to Australia at 14.
oh,
And he was told when he arrived here, we hate the Krauts. Change your name. Don't tell anyone you're German. You won't, you won't be accepted. So for a
wow.
14-year-old boy who'd got on a ship for months to get here with his family, and his sister had died on the ship, to come feeling with that emotion and being told these things. So, of course, he took to drink, and, he was really he never recovered. He died from drink. So,
Mm,
and my mother was, she was a bit more fortunate. She was born to a family that had money in Melbourne, wheat farms and things. And her father had lost his arm uh, as a teenager. And so his parents said, here's the money to buy 2 taxis, go up to Sydney and start a business up there. He met my grandmother and had my mother, who was beautiful. My grandmother wasn't very attractive. My grandfather was very handsome. And so he'd made this beautiful girl. It was like a Louis Vuitton handbag for my grandmother. People would stop her in the street and go, isn't she beautiful? So she got spoiled. She was at dance classes, and she was at singing classes, and she was at this and this and that. And then she met my father. She was only 17, and they got pregnant. His mother said, you have to marry the girl. So they got married. He left, came back, left, came back. She was
mm,
basically on her own. So this princess all of a sudden is treated with disrespect.
yeah.
And she's had this little baby boy. And then my father came back and she's pregnant again with me. So
Mm.
they actually tried to abort me.
Oh
And
my.
so I'm an unsuccessful abortion attempt.
Praise the Lord. That's amazing.
Praise the Lord. But what happened? I developed the strength of character.
Yes.
When I spent my childhood, once I found out when I was 11, and I sort of really felt sorry for myself for a few years. But then I met a beautiful woman who was a beautiful mother, and she taught me everything she knew.
Ugh.
And I loved being with her. And
Mm,
I thought to myself, I was 15 when I met her, I'm going to be like that woman as a mother. And she was able to just give me self-confidence. She used to encourage me to learn French, to play the piano. She'd stop and listen to what I was doing and encourage
ugh.
me. And it was so beautiful. And I realized that's the mum I'm going to be.
Mm,
So even though my parents were alcoholics and they really weren't great parents, I learnt from someone, and I started realizing that their story didn't have to be my story,
yes.
and that when you meet a really good person and somebody that's wanting to teach you everything they know, all you have to do is listen and learn. It's just what I'm going to be doing when we're finished here, from what you're doing and teaching women to be able to be great in business.
Mm,
I feel that I have the same skills teaching women how great it is to be a good mum and how
yes,
enjoyable it can really, really be.
absolutely. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, what a remarkable woman you are. what a remarkable leader and mentor you are. Looking at you, I can only imagine what this other woman who mentored you was like. I wish I could have met her too. I think that's just incredible. And I think part of the reason that I really love that you found this other woman is because it's great to have coaches and, people in our lives that can teach us things, but mentorship comes in all forms, and we are never, no matter what our background is, we're never glued to that. We can look for people around us that inspire us and start learning from them and asking questions and, all the things. So you had talked about being versus doing and how important that is for a woman. And I know that you grew up as a business, not grew up as a business owner. I know that you had a business when your children were young, and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do during school hours? And this and that. What advice would you have or give to a business owner a woman who works at home, who also has her kids still at home for her, with her? Is there any specific advice that you would give them in terms of being able to run their business while also running their household?
So yes, I do.
Great.
So the first step is the respect and children who listen to you. So that's really, really helpful. And I noticed when your child came, within moments, they were gone and you were happy and they were happy. That's just nicer than trying to convince them for 10 minutes and explain why you're
True.
doing it. That was great. So after we lost everything and I got my divorce, the youngest was 6. And so what I used to do is do my work from home during the day. And then I would get all my studies or whatever I was doing. And then once the children came home, I would just focus on them for an hour, get them sorted with their homework, get them, doing the things that they need to do, get dinner started, do all the things that they can do to help. And then, bath time would come. And I know this sounds crazy, but we'd all love jumping in the bath together. We had a big triangle. So
Love
we'd be in there playing and painting faces and having fun,
it.
settle down to sleep, and then at 8 o'clock at night, I'd get going again with doing the work because I wasn't always that perfect, but I did want to be that perfect, and I aimed towards it. But there were many times where I'm sitting, typing, and doing things, and mummy, can have a story, can have a cuddle. I'm sorry, darling, I'm just busy, and pushing them away makes you feel really heartbroken, and they don't understand that. But I think if you can just take 10 minutes to settle them into something else and promise them a hopeful future again, tomorrow. It's all the food, the sleep, everything's in the sales job. You just like
Yes,
sell them,
that's right.
and then they have one because they think, oh, there's always something better on the horizon. So yeah, you're always going to be a little bit guilty, but the most important thing is to realize you're doing your best and to give yourself praise, and give yourself some time. I remember one mum coming to me at the school when I was taking Vanessa when she was in kindergarten down. And she came up to me, she said, Sharon, excuse me. And I said, oh, I'm running late. Sorry, I'm going to get to the shops. And she said, I just want to ask you something. And I said, what is that? And she said, and I had Oliver, that's right, as a baby in my arms. She said, do you ever stop to smell the roses? And I said, I beg your pardon? She said, ponder. And I looked at her with these crazy eyes. And it's like, ponder? Like, serious? I've got 3 shops, I've got 3 children, and I've got a lazy husband, so I'm going to get going. Thanks. And I took off. But you know what? That was a gift.
Yes.
She was giving me the gift of consciousness, and I rejected it. And so this is one of the things that I talk to mums about too. When someone's giving you a message, don't reject it because it's not in your current thinking. Deal with what you can, accept the rest, and everything will just work out in the end because there is a grander plan for all of us. There is something that we need to do in the world, and we can't do it if we're feeling sad. So I always believe that we've got to bring ourselves back up to being positive and trusting, because when you look back over your life, things were great. Like I've just come back from 2.5 months in Europe because my children every year buy me a ticket to go over and visit them and meet and spend time. I had to meet a granddaughter I hadn't met and two
Wonderful.
grandsons over there, and I'm spoilt to death when I get there. My son gave me a card with €1,000 on it and just said, "Go and buy what you want, Mum." Like this is
Lovely.
what happens when you do this
Yeah.
right. So it's
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, I absolutely, so I a few years ago, as my business looked different a few years ago, and I was very stuck in what I call the hustle culture. I was being very successful in the world's eyes and had a large audience and doing all the things. And I remember waking up in the morning and getting straight to work and then trying to squeeze in work all the places, being short-tempered with my children at times, right? And then one day, actually, Facebook shut down my account for some reason. And in that moment, it was just the trigger I needed to be like, whoa, what is going on here? What am I doing? I am not rested. I'm unhealthy. I'm all these things, right? My relationships are just kind of feeling awful. Um, and so I started to rest. And yes, my account came back and I rested for like 30 days, just leaning into the Lord and just taking time to sit still and, like you said, ponder and allow myself to release all the busy, all the doing, so that I could discover again who I was outside of what I was doing and the vision, like my, moving forward, what that was going to look like. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned, this is why I love to hear you say, um, being, doing more being and less doing more being. um,
Being.
more being, less doing is because during that time, I really learned that the biggest part of being a productive person is to experience rest. And it's the rest that moves us forward. And it's not just in business, it's in all areas of life. And when we are well rested, our relationships are just naturally better because rest also means that our mind is clear. We're more in control of our emotions. Um, and all those things. So I really appreciate you sharing that. I think that that's going to be one of the many takeaways that people are going to have from this episode today. As we wind down, there is a tradition that we have here on the show, and that is that we like to end our interview with a question. And this question either comes from a past guest or an audience member. And so today, this comes from an audience member, just kind of randomly chosen. So they didn't know that you necessarily were going to be here. Are you open to answering this question?
I'd love to.
Okay. So it's going to feel a little weird because it's very detached from what we've been talking about up till now. But it's also kind of interesting. So the question is, if you could, or maybe if you are already, but if you could automate a part of your business to help you save time or to feel more productive, what would that be?
Well, that's a very relevant question because I was listening to your Facebook Live this morning,
Oh,
and yes, and you were talking about training a high school student.
mm,
I think that's a fantastic idea,
yeah,
and focus on the who, what, and how, but you don't actually have to do it all yourself.
yes.
And yes, you are on fire, girl. I want to say that, like, you're doing amazing things.
And I
Um,
do rest quite a bit, so thank you.
very rested, to tell the truth. So I think that for me, at my age, I did not grow up with technology,
Mm,
and like I started working at 14 years of age, and I worked in fashion for the next 25 years. So I'm used to doing, and then
hmm
in the house, used to cooking for them and the washing and and the retail stores, tidying racks, talking to customers, all of that. But nothing was ever in front of a computer, sitting still, focused. And so when it comes to doing that, even today, 20 years later, even though I've done computer courses, I've done TAFE courses, I've done business management, I've done a million different things, I haven't stopped learning, but I hate it. I have to say, everybody says, I know you want to outsource it, but you've got to learn to do it. And for the last 12 months, I thought, okay, I'm going to force myself to do it. But when I spend 4 hours on something that should have worked in 5 minutes and it still hasn't,
Mm.
hence the printer last night, it
Mm-hmm.
actually makes me feel quite ill here. And I think you have to listen to your body,
Yeah.
not to everybody else. My body says, find an high school girl and train her, and then teach her how to do with this your reliable results process I'm going to be doing. And I'll teach her along with me to do that.
Mm.
And I think that's a great way to give yourself freedom, relaxation, time to spend with the people you love.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, wow. First off, I'm so thankful that I could be a little bit of an inspiration for you in that. And I want to agree with you that, I've heard it too. Like it's good to learn it all yourself. And in a sense, it is good to understand the process, but understanding the process and being able to do it very good and efficiently, and quickly so you're not spending 4 hours, that's very different. And so when we understand what our processes are, then we understand where the help is that we need, right? And so I do think there's actually many things that we do in an online business in particular that we can apprentice a younger person to be able to do that, especially those that are in high school that are, I mean, they're coming into the world where social media and online sales and all that is the norm.
I
So
love
yeah,
it.
so they are already very skilled in a lot of areas. And really, you considering that is a fantastic idea. And it's as simple as having a meeting and sharing with this person what you want, what your hopes are, and then just listening where they are and what they think that they can do to help support. And I think that initial conversation is going to help you understand, like, wow, I thought maybe this person could do this, but she could actually help me do this, and this, right? And
Yeah,
in the process, you're preparing her to possibly be her own online entrepreneur. I mean, really, the
that's true.
possibilities are endless. But I think it's a fantastic idea. Yeah.
I have actually had a beautiful young girl who'd left school and about to start university. And she was so quick and smart and so lovely to speak with. And she'd say, all my folders, just throw those ones out. All those bits of paper, you don't need them. You've already said that over there. And I'm, yeah, but what? And then, like, every bit of information feels so precious to me. And
Yeah.
she was with me for about a year, and now that was maybe 5 years ago. She still gets her bosses to ring me if she's applying for a new position, and I just rave about her, and I say to
Oh,
them, I know it sounds like I'm related to her and I love her and I do love her, but I'm not related, just
yeah.
bosom. But I have not been able to replace her, and I would love to do that because
Mm,
I need someone to boss me around. I'm a little bit bossy. Don't tell my children. They might have noticed. But I love it when somebody else, when they know better than me, can tell me what to do and I can
yeah.
learn from them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there is such strength in working with others. So our strengths come together versus trying to do it all yourself all the time. I mean, there's definitely a part of getting started where it is like, gosh, you have to do everything. But again, yeah, as you get started, you understand, okay, taking 4 hours to do this job is not serving me well. Like it's taking up your time. You got to make choices. So kudos to you. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Sharon, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It has been so much fun getting to talk to you and just so insightful. I cannot wait to get a copy of your book. And I'm curious, is that something that I can grab over on Amazon or is there a different website for that?
Yes, you can get it on Amazon. I am going to be ordering some more books. I love to give books away.
Oh,
If anyone
sure.
can't actually afford to buy one, I would love to send them one. I have a PDF copy online too, but it's very hard to follow because you don't know what page you finished at unless you're keeping notes or something.
Right.
But yeah, the book, when you hold it in your hand, the magic part about this book is that you don't actually even have to read the whole book. If
Mm,
you like have something that you're thinking about here, opening up, managing tantrums. If your child's deciding to start
Mhm.
carry on, I don't believe in a tantrum. As soon as I see a funny look in their eye and they stop, darling. Okay, we're going to work this out. What do you want? What do you want? And then they stop and they breathe and they don't go through this, full
Yeah,
body experience. But children resort to out of control behaviors such as tantrums because they haven't been shown a better way to deal with their feelings. And that's
absolutely. Whew.
say on a coffee table. And
Yeah.
you're in the kitchen and something's going, oh, wait a minute, we're going to read. What's it say here? I feel quite sad when I see parents are really struggling. So
Yeah.
it's all
So
in
good.
there. So if you
Okay.
can't afford to get onto Amazon and buy one, I was number 8 in their ebooks
Okay.
last year. Then get in touch with me. You can find me on sharoncullington.com website, and I will post you a book.
That's
And
so wonderful. Thank
every
you. Thank you for that for our viewers. And we'll have if you would like to get a hold of Sharon, for those watching, please make sure you check out all the show notes in the description. All of her information will be there. What a huge blessing, Sharon, for you to be with us today. Again, I thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Teresa. You're an inspiration, and so many
Thank you.
women really are lucky to have you in their lives. And I'm going to be involved in future because I'm thrilled that I found you now as well.
Thank you very much. All right,
Thank you.
we'll talk soon.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
The Productive and Profitable channel is all about helping entrepreneurs grow wildly profitable businesses without sacrificing time with their families or the things they love. And we do this through top-notch trainings and community. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notifications button so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you're ready to dive deeper and take your business to the next level, be sure to join our free business community over on Facebook. Simply visit teresataylorcoaching.com and hit the community tab. We can't wait to see you over there.